I was the one that always talked in the back of class, so you should be able to hear me, but if not, flag me. Let me try to project, because like, let me try. All right. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming and gathering here at this moment. I want to step back and honor everybody around us. There are a lot of people from across our city, across our Commonwealth. Folks have even come across the country in solidarity, in a sign of love and unity, to demand justice, to demand accountability, to celebrate our humanity, not only for Breonna Taylor, not only now for Mr. McAtee, but for all of us. And I want to tell you that I love you and I honor you right now in this moment, and thank you for being here. I know there's some voices across the street as well. We got to honor them too. And I'll talk about what they're talking about as well. I wanted to have this press conference really to give an update on where I see things as state representative for the 43rd District, which, as you know, if you're looking at the street here, we are in. It goes west to the river, goes east to Indian Hills. It is a very diverse district that has some of the wealthiest parts of the city and also one of the poorest zip codes in the state, which is where I live at. And having to see all of this from the lens of a young black man from the West End, dealing with a lot of trauma, having a lot of loss, and now dealing with the pain that is being expressed and put out into the atmosphere with all of you, I want to do my part, not only as an elected official, as a leader locked arms with you, but as your neighbor, as someone that gives a damn about this place. I just want to tell you how things are going. I'll give you some updates, and then I'll talk about some things that we can do moving forward that I believe we can lock arms and help demand together. Since this, let's be clear, I want to say protest, but this is not a protest. This is an uprising. This is much bigger than just demanding justice. This is us leading for justice. This is us talking about structural issues, getting to the heart of why things are the way they are in our city, across our country, and across the world. And I'm just humbled to be one small part of that with you. Since folks have started to gather and peacefully assemble, there's been a lot that has happened. And so I want to give you some updates on things that I've been pushing on with you so that you know you have allies working with you in the halls of government as well as in the street. And y'all know I'm gonna show up in both places. This is the inimitable right here. She's bringing me some volume. Here, maybe we can sit it right here. Oh, there's water right there.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, no, I want to stay alive.
Yeah, me too.
Wait.
You are all here.
Okay, yeah, this does help. Okay, let's see it better. Oh. Y'all are making a way. Ain't that what family does? Okay, well this will help me expedite too, because I don't want this water to bust. Y'all need that. I need it too. So there were a couple of issues that were evolving around what happened to Breonna Taylor, why we're so frustrated. A couple of them are the lack of transparency, the question of why things have taken so long, and how do we as local and state and federal leaders respond not only for Breonna and her family, but for all of us, because I know you all know that when Breonna Taylor was killed, a part of all of us died as well. And so this is for us too. There were a couple of things that I demanded. This is not an exhaustive list, but I just wanted to share that we've been getting some responses and we need to applaud our collective power in this moment. We saw a constant escalation with our law enforcement, right here, going across the city and even going into the West End.
people were peacefully gathering. Many of you all were here with me. Law enforcement took an aggressive and adversarial posture, and it continued to escalate, including several of you getting hit with pepper bullets, tear gas. I'm one of those. And seeing armored vehicles and law enforcement and military equipment coming into our neighborhoods as if they are at war with us. And it met a breaking point with the National Guard being called in. That ain't right, y'all. And so I reached out to the governor. I've been on phone constantly with our mayor, and I elevated your voice in calling for the National Guard to step back. I put that out in a statement just a day ago. And I want to share with you, and even in the evidence of yesterday, which was so much better, we got a whole hell of a lot of work to do. Right. But the governor had committed to me that the National Guard would reduce their footprint and would not be in the west end of Louisville again. That's right. Good. That's important. And now this fight is about transparency too, y'all. And we know that Mr. McAtee, the barbecue man, had his life taken. Someone that served a lot of y'all, certainly me, very good food, and was doing his part to be an anchor in our community.
And the police.
And the police. Right. A whole lot. That was the last stop for a lot of folks before they went home. He showed love to everybody. And in trying to protect his business, protect his loved ones, his life is gone. And there are questions as to why. I want answers too. And I called the governor. The governor showed leadership. The mayor immediately responded in releasing footage. That's an important step. You don't see that often. I want you to know that's because you raised your voices. Now, there are still more answers that need to be met. Those videos raise more questions than they provided answers. But that sign of transparency is something we need to build on, and I need you to know that. Now, there's another part about this that we know there's a lot of brutality, there's a lot of aggression. Our law enforcement act more like a military than they do actually to protect and serve us. We know that if you look like me, and some of you around me, that you'll be seen as a deadly weapon before being seen as a human being. We know that. So that means citizens need a voice. The people need a voice. We need citizen review of every police shooting with subpoena power so that there are teeth and accountability.
That's right.
I hear you. Y'all been the man in that for years. Shamika, we've been the man in that for years.
We have.
And in calling out for that, hearing the governor respond and say that he supports and wants to see that, hearing the mayor say that he wants to see that, convening a work group to define how it needs to look for Louisville, listen, it can't happen quick enough. I'm asking that to be expedited, but that's an important step. And another big thing that happened just a day ago that we can't lose. Chief Conrad was fired. Now listen, I'm not here to identify him as a person, his qualities, his integrity. I've had a lot of good conversations with him. But the problems we've been seeing in our law enforcement are inexcusable. And if there is no control, then there needs to be new leadership. And I called on the mayor to release Chief Conrad and to appoint an interim chief to begin the path of healing within the law enforcement. And we just got that done. That's important. And folks across the street, several of them have come over. We are demanding that the officers that killed Breonna Taylor be fired. Yesterday. Listen, someone, while they're on their job, kicks someone else's door in and kills them. The least that they can do is have their job taken away from them. That's the least. Right. So, you've been yelling in the streets. I have too. And I've spoken with the mayor. And his response was that there are statutory limitations on how you can go about terminating the employment of an officer during an investigation. Well, I'm a state legislator. So we don't need to hide behind processes anymore.
That's right.
Now, while I do not agree with the notion that the process should be slowed up, they need to go, I have told him that I would work with him in the state legislature to amend 67C, that's the statutory language, that would make it clear that in these type of extreme circumstances, law enforcement officers can be fired and should be. We don't need any more excuses. So I hope you feel encouraged as much as you are pissed off. Now, listen, you got every right to be angry. I'm not asking you to calm down from being angry. I'm grieving with you. You deserve to express that. You deserve that to be respected by the leaders that you pay for. Show up every single day. This is your city. Show up and be loud. And while you do that, celebrate the power, your collective power, and the victories that we're getting right now. Because we're building momentum. And in this moment, we got to talk about the path forward. So I just want to share a little bit of how I think we can do that. And then I'll entertain a few questions. We need leadership at the local, state, and federal level. And we know, even including my cousin TJ, who is one of the misidentified four, and I want to honor them right now and tell TJ that I love you, and I'm standing here in part because of you. We know that our law enforcement has some deep problems, and it wasn't just Chief Conrad. We need a complete reorganization of the LMPD. The old model of business got to go. And if that means faces need to change, so be it. And I understand the mayor has put out an RFP. I'm already telling you, the result of the RFP needs to be a complete reorganization of LMPD. And now at the state level, we have a responsibility to assess how we handle and engage instances of civil unrest. And instead of having the National Guard come in as a blinded response, how do we work in conjunction with the community to have community policing, to have accountability within ourselves, but also to be protected by the law enforcement? They should honor us in protest, not try to beat us over the head. So in reaching out to the governor, I'm working with my legislative colleagues to do a couple of things. We're going to push legislation to ban no-knock warrants. We're going to push that. That's happening right now. We're going to work, as I said, to amend 67C. There will be no pressure moving forward that law officers, if you do violate your oath, you violate the law, your job is done.
That's right.
That's simple. Like anybody else. And lastly, we need federal leadership. Here's how I'm doing what I'm doing. We need leadership at the federal level that will not stand in an ivory tower and judge you and just say it's unacceptable when things go wrong, but will be on the streets with you. Will not go off with you. That's not just about me as a candidate, that's about all of us. We deserve that. We know there's structural racism, structural inequity within our institutions, within every aspect of our lives. We need leadership at the federal level to call that out. And so I am calling on Mitch McConnell to reconvene the Senate right now and demand justice for Breonna Taylor and every life that has been lost at the hands of law enforcement right now. Right now. And then we gonna vote him out in November. Because there's one big example. The point of all of this is to let you know where we are so we can organize and move forward. One of the things we need at the federal level is a national review of every police encounter, every form of brutality, every shooting. We do not track it. We don't have national data to be able to define and allocate resources or defund when need be. We need that now. And there is a bill that has been sitting in Congress for years called the Law Enforcement Trust and Integrity Act, which includes a lot of this, including reallocation of funds, accreditation issues, and making sure that your civil rights are protected. And that law enforcement can't just take it away at a whim or because of what you look like or where you're from or how much money you have.
That's right.
That's right.
believe we're at an inflection point. I believe we're at a moment where if we come together, we can transform not only our city, our Commonwealth, but this country. And I'm telling you, we got a responsibility to do it. Not just for us, but for my little girls, for our children, everybody that calls this place home and that we'll call it home in the future, we owe them. And there was a moment that I don't want to let go by, and then I will entertain some questions. I was at 26th Street, standing with a lot of folks in the community that were pissed off, angry, hurt, devastated by the loss of Yaya, the barbecue man. And we're looking across the street at law enforcement who were protecting the scene because his body lay down there for over 12 hours. And they were holding weapons, looking at us, ready to go to war with us. And there was yelling back and forth across the street. Y'all gotta follow me on this because we need to build on this. I walked across the street. There were some faith leaders, some loud voices. I'm standing beside some. They called on those law enforcement officers to put their weapons down. If they were really there to protect the scene, which means they're protecting our loved one, why are they acting like they're ready to fight us?
Right.
They initially refused, but agreed that if they got an order from the mayor's office, that they would put their weapons down. So I called the mayor. All right, mayor, you got a job to do. And I want to tell you that the mayor said, okay, I'll do it. And they put their weapons down.
That's right.
And when they did, you saw hundreds of people lock arms of all colors from all parts of the city and the state. Locking arms, and we sang We Shall Overcome. We put our fists in the earth, and we honor Mr. McAtee.
That's right.
Together. That's the moment, y'all. If we realize our power together, we can build justice, we can realize healing, and we can transform our future. This will never go back to the way it was. Things will never be the same. We will not let it. Let's build on our hope. Let's lift up one another and know I'm fighting with y'all. And if you have any questions, I'll answer them. But keep fighting. And I love you. Listen, you all are here. This work is going to surpass this moment. I need y'all in the halls of government. I need y'all making noise every single place. This state belongs to you. This Commonwealth belongs to you. So our work begins from here. Y'all keep making noise, and let's get to work.
Representative Booker, let me ask, as a first question, you mentioned your conversations with Mayor Fisher. He's getting a lot of criticism from folks both out here and in other parts of the Commonwealth. Should Mayor Fisher be impeached and or resign?
There are growing calls for the mayor's resignation. And what I've told everyone is they have an absolute right to make that call. And the moment we're in, and I've told the mayor this, I said it during my debate in front of the entire Commonwealth, he needs to earn his stay right now.
Right.
This is the moment where he needs to earn his stay. That means being responsive to the calls for those officers to be fired. That means being responsive to the calls to completely reorganize LMPD. That means being responsive to the fact that poverty is generational across our community and certainly in the West End. And a lot of people are abandoned. And investments are not being done at the local level. So he needs to earn his stay. And I'm going to make sure he does, and I know you all will too.
That's right.
Would you vote for him again?
Well, he's not, he doesn't have any more terms.
All right, Daniel. So the legislature's gavelled out for the year. Anything to do that any bill would have to happen during a special session. Have you talked to Governor Beshear about adding the ability to do that sort of thing to any special session that he calls?
I have spoken with my staff, and I have spoken with the governor's office. And we are evaluating now what a special session could look like to immediately address the legislative concerns around termination of officers, around transparency. And I will continue to do that. We're doing that as we speak. But again, it is incumbent on our local leadership to respond, and I hope they do.
What about that damn?
Is it possible
We gotta go.
that is it possible that the state could step in declare a state of emergency because these police and National Guard are endangering Louisvillians. If this man doesn't fire these officers, maybe the state can come in and run the city and fire them.
Well, all of you standing here right now lets me know that we're not at that point. We're speaking up, we're fighting back, and the city is responding. What I'm asking is that we continue to keep the pressure on and that we demand that they continue to respond. That's where we're at right now, and I think we got that opportunity. So let's seize that before we relinquish control at the local level.
All right.
All right, I got one more question. They ushering me out of here.
You mentioned that Mayor Fisher fired Chief Conrad. What should we expect from the next chief of police?
So there's an interim chief now, Chief Schroeder, and I've had several conversations with him on trying to be more of a face of unity, of reconciliation, and being responsible and accountable to the community. I hope that happens. Ultimately, in the appointment of a permanent chief, I believe it should be a person of color. I believe it should be a black woman. I think that there's an opportunity here to make a very loud statement that we're going to have leadership that reflects the community and is in touch and connected to the community. And I ask you all to join me in calling for that. I want to thank you all again. I'm sorry, I know it's hot, but I'm going to step out of the way. Y'all can turn the music back on. Let's make some more noise. Thank y'all.